Hello and welcome to Tooele, Utah. We're just outside of Salt Lake City at the beautiful Miller Motorsports Park. This is the 2009 National Auto Sport Association Spec Miata National Championship, presented by Toyo Tires and Mother's Polishes, Waxes, and Cleaners. Ken Stout and Dave Royce ready to call all the action for you here today. And Dave, this is an awesome fest because it really comes back to the drivers.
Spec Miata is one of the most exciting races we have. It's incredibly low cost. For about 10 grand, you can get in a car and be doing laps. It's also very competitive. The top 5-6 guys are going to be running within a half second of each other, really knocking it out. Then there's the Mazda support. Mazda support for this race is awesome. They've got about 10 grand in prizes. The winner is going to go out to the Mazda driver shootout. Plus, there's lots of parts discounts for anybody who owns a Spec Miata.
All right, as we take a look at the starting grid, let me remind you that these guys have been racing for 2 days. Thursday they raced, Friday they raced. They're both preliminary races, and as you know, Dave, it's how you finish in those preliminary races determines where you start here today.
Sammy Valifar, boy, he qualified on both days on the pole. He finished first one day and third the second day. Todd Lamb, he finished second and first. That's what puts these guys on the front row.
Todd Lamb will be on the inside, as we mentioned there on the yellow car. They actually call it Big Bird. Todd Lamb with Stewart engine power underneath the hood is your two-time and defending class national champion. He knows how to get around, but both of those championships came at Mid-Ohio, not here at Miller Motorsports Park. We'll find out how he does against the very tough Sammy Valifar, who's had 100 laps around this place, maybe more. They're coming out of turn number 15. They call it release, headed down to 3,500-foot straightaway. They're about to throw the green flag. They're bunched up, pushing each other. It's go time, baby. Stand on a loud pedal. We are racing here at Miller Motorsports Park in the Spec Miata class.
They were bump drafting, I think, even before the green flag.
Yeah, and we can see them here. They're going 2, 3, and 4 wide. Keep in mind, this track is 3 miles long, 40 and 50 feet wide, pretty much everywhere. As they dive into turn number 1, it will be the number 32 car, and Lamb doing a great job. Todd Lamb off to an early lead right now, feeling some heat from the number 5 car right off the bat. Andrew Rushing also got a great start.
Andrew gave him a lot of pressure on that. He ran him right out to the rumble strips, and looks like they are nose to tail through the third corner.
And Todd Lamb, by the way, out of Austin, Texas, competes in the Texas region. The 1991 model Spec Miata. Now keep in mind, there's early models, 1990 to 93, that use a 1.6-liter power plant, and then it's 94 on up that uses a 1.8, but as you get to 1999, it's a second generation 1.8. Now the reason I tell you this stuff is because there's different weights that are applied to the early models, then there's different restrictors that are applied to the 2 of the versions of the 1.8 liters. Might sound a little bit confusing here, but that's what they do here at NASA to make sure these guys are all equal, and the horsepower ranges between 115 and 120 to 125.
The other part that keeps these really tight in class is going to be their Toyo tires. They're running on R888s for this race, size 205 50/15s. Not a lot of rubber to get them around the track, so they get them warmed up and they stick real well.
On board with Dean Thomas, what a great onboard shot. They just went through that right, left, right. They call it attitudes. They go down through the 3 of them. First attitude, second attitude, and then bad attitude, because it will launch you off the track, and those rumble strips are violent.
We have Todd Lamb leading the pack of 3 into clubhouse corner, then it'll be wind up.
Sammy Valifar in the black car, the number 77. Todd Lamb leading the field around here, first, second, and third, very tight. Todd Lamb going into turn number 15. They call it release. Right on his back bumper is the 5 car. That is Andrew Rushing, and then Sammy Valifar with the black number 77 also in there. Keep in mind, Todd Lamb, we told you, 2-time champ, but he's also running the Playboy MX5 Cup and actually leading in the points here. Some of the best drivers in the country, and here comes Rushing.
Looks like Rushing has stepped out to try to get a run on Todd Lamb. Will he be able to take it down a 3,500-foot straight into Sunset?
Just behind our 3 leaders is the black car of Dan McKeever and also Dean Thomas. We'll see if those guys can actually catch up with this pack, but a pretty cool battle right here going on. And it's also cool in another way because there's an early model car in there with Andrew Rushing in 1991. So that's a 1.6 liter. The other 2 cars, a little bit older, with a 1996 and a 94. So those are 1.8 liters. Now they also get into final gear reductions that are a little different as well. Some guys say the 4.3 is a better one. Some people say the 4.1 will work.
Hey, while you're talking about all that, Sammy Valifar and Todd Lamb are really battling it out up there. And Sammy Valifar is taking a unique line, trying to get a run on Todd Lamb. Is he going to make it on the outside? He is going to make it on the outside of Black Rock Hairpin.
And that turn really releases. There's a lot of racing room on the outside. They are door handle to door handle, though, as they go into turn number 6, better known as right hook and then knockout. It's kind of a double apex turn, a long right-hander.
We got Todd Lamb. He's not giving it up easy. He's right on the bumper of Sam Valifar. I'm not sure who's going to be able to take this on the second lap.
And Dave, as you well know, this is really a momentum-style race. You've got to get this thing going, get it wound up, and then be as smooth as possible. They'll use all the track they can use as they head into attitudes. That is a great look right there. And yeah, they'll use those rumble strips all they possibly can. Down there through bad attitude and then to what they call Tooele. That is turn number 11. Stay with us, baby. We've just gotten warmed up here at Miller Motorsports Park. More NASA Championships in a moment.
The 2009 National Autosport Association National Championship is brought to you by Mazda, Zoom Zoom, and Toyo Tires, driven to perform.
Craig Burnett, lead chemist.
Professionals and car enthusiasts all talk about how well Mother's Clay Bar works. You may think your paint is clean, but a simple touch will tell you otherwise. If the surface is not smooth as glass, you need the Clay Bar. Just spray, clay, and wipe away. Our Clay Bar shears off and removes harmful embedded contaminants, leaving your paint perfectly smooth and clean, paving the way for final waxing. Mother's Clay Bar system. More value, more clay.
Welcome back to Miller Motorsports Park. You're watching the Spec Miata race as they fan out. Things have been pretty exciting here. This is the 2009 National Autosport Association Spec Miata National Championship presented by Toyo Tires and Mother's Polishes, Waxes, and Cleaners. The silver car out front. Andrew Rushing got around the yellow car that's in second place right now. That is Todd Lamb. Todd Lamb actually fell back to third, but now Sammy Valifar has fallen back to third as he's gotten back around him.
Well, I tell you, these two are really battling it out. And what they're thinking in the car is, these are spec cars. There is nothing to be left on the table. I can't miss a beat. So any car I can get right now in the early part of the race is going to put me up front.
While those guys are battling for second place, Dean Thomas is pulled right up in the hunt. He's the white car with a blue stripe down the center. They're going through turn number 5 right here. You want to aim wide, apex that thing right at the bottom, and then let the car release so that you don't break the horsepower on these things. You don't break them way down. You got to keep your momentum up, and maybe a little bumper action there, baby.
I see a little bump drafting here. Bump drafting is interesting because it pushes the car in front of you, and it kind of slows you down a little bit. So you got to play the game with bump drafting to your advantage.
Boy, let's get a little deeper in the pack. Talk about competitive. If you want to go Spec Miata racing, and let me tell you, Mazda has a great program for you. This is the type of fun you can have. You can see back here, there is some 5, 6 to 10 cars going at it. And if you win this race, Mazda throws $4,500 at you. Matter of fact, the better part of 10 grand. And you don't have to use the whole track. You can use the dirt and the rumble strip.
I think the dirt, the rumble strip, and even taking out some of those little poles there next to the rumble strip are the way to go.
Exactly right. But Mazda has a great ladder program. If you win here, you get to go to a shootout and a shot at an MX-5 championship the next year. There's great stuff going on courtesy of Mazda.
Ken, we have a really good battle going on in the back here. We have Carl Zimmerman. He's moved up about 10 spots. He's battling with Grant Westmoreland, Derek Whitus, and Chris Griswold.
Zimmerman in that orange and white car. As you can see, that's that pack we saw a little bit ago. By the way, Derek Whitus in that green car from Freedom Autosport, another top-notch driver when it comes to Spec Miata. In fact, drives in the Coney Series and MX-5. So that guy knows how to get around in one of these things as well.
When you're driving in one of these cars, you've got your foot to the floor. This is a momentum track. You can't afford to give up anything on the track. You're using all of your turn-in, you're using all of the apex, and you're tracking out all the way. You're protecting your line, you're looking ahead. You've really got to have your game on for this race.
Andrew Rushing with a nice move down the straightaway there, trying to break up whatever draft Todd Lamb could get, but it looks like it didn't happen, man. Todd Lamb closing that gap, and keep in mind, he is the two-time defending champ, also drives in Grand Am and a BMW. I mean, this guy's used to some big speed, but he knows how to be smooth.
You got all these drivers that are really top caliber. What they're trying to do in the car is they're trying to get all the braking they can out of the car. They're trying to get all of the turning speed out of the car without scrubbing too much off, because that's really going to kill their speed. We talked about it being a momentum car. Well, actually, this turns out to be a momentum track as well.
The 72 car of Dean Thomas has gotten around the black 77 of Sammy Balafar. And of course, again, we keep talking about momentum, talk about big speed. These guys want to stay in line.
They really want to stay in line because that's where the hole in the air is, Ken. They want to draft. This is long straightaways on this, and they are to the floor in every gear they have. And any little bit of air they can take off the front by a draft is what's going to put them near the front.
So first and third, 1.6 liters. And then, of course, second and fourth, the 1.8. The 1.8s have to carry a little more weight, but have a little more torque and a little more horsepower. So it's kind of cool to see how even it is, and it looks like Lamb's taking a look on the inside.
Well, not only do they have that, they have the later model cars. They have an air restrictor in there, slow those 1.8s down just a little bit to keep everybody matched up. Mazda and NASA's really figured out the formula to get these cars running at all the same speed and competitive. We've got older cars running up front. We've got newer cars running up front. It's awesome.
So Lamb with the number 32 Big Bird, yellow Mazda, was not able to make the pass going into Tooele. So now they come back in here. It's pretty much turn 14. They call it wind up. And then turn 15 is release. We'll see if he can get a run on him. Now keep in mind as well that the ratio, the final drive ratio for the silver car up front is 4.3. It is 4.1 for Lamb, who has the newer style car and then also has a little more horsepower but carries a little more weight. So there's a lot going on here, and you can see right now he's trying to break the draft.
The draft is going to be so key. What we're going to watch here is all the way down the end of these straightaways, these cars are going to be using the draft to pick up some distance, and then under braking they're going to try to make it happen. And it doesn't look like he can make it happen this time.
So Lamb filling up the driver's side mirror. Andrew Rushing not able to get around him, closes up the gap. Man, he's keeping the pressure on to try and see if he can work him into a mistake.
Well, you got Dean Thomas just behind. I believe Dean has two spotters out there somewhere helping him look for traffic, maybe even watching that Megatron.
I think it's a big help. You know, it's always a comforting voice. And this track, ironically enough, as big as it is, 3 miles on the outer loop, 4.5 miles around the full course, as Lamb goes to the outside, tries to trick him, back to the inside, back to the outside again. It's like he's running a slalom down there, going into turn number 5, but none of that worked. He stayed in the same spot. So, but back to what you said, the spotters I think are huge, and they can actually see the cars all the way around this track, especially if you're up high enough. Stay with us. When we come back, we'll have more Spec Miata racing, courtesy of the National Autosport Association. Welcome back to the 2009 NASA National Championships. You're watching Spec Miata. It's brought to you by Toyo Tires and Mothers. Polishes, waxes, and cleaners. The top 3 guys have been going at it. Sammy Balafar with the black car has fallen back, but how about Dean Thomas with the white Mazda, the blue stripe, who's been slowly closing the gap on Andrew Rushing, who's been leading for a long time now, Todd Lamb.
Well, I tell you, Todd Lamb has got to be feeling it. He started on the pole, and now we're halfway through the race, and he's really feeling the pressure. He has not been able to give anything to Sammy, and I think he's going to have to make it happen soon, or he's just going to be back there in second place.
Well, you talked about Todd Lamb before. In the yellow, by the way, 32 car, who finished first and second on our preliminary races, but Andrew Rushing was no slouch. He finished third on Thursday, second on Friday. So he's on his game as well, and it looks like he might have made just the right adjustments to get a little something on Todd Lamb. Lamb now has to worry about Dean Thomas. We go on board with Dean Thomas. Take a look at it, man. He's going to try to make a pass on Lamb.
And that's exactly what we were talking about earlier, the draft on that 3,500-foot straightaway. He pulled the draft in on Todd Lamb, and now he's got it under braking. It looks like he put him right behind him in turn 1.
A little counter steering, and that thing got a little bit loose. By the way, you can also see the electronics that are inside of these cars as well. They have timers so they know about how much is left inside of the race. They also have some data showing them lap times. There's a lot going on there, but right now he's not looking at any of that.
Well, I'll tell you who's really been impressing me is Dean Thomas. You know, he's shown some patience through the first half of this race. He strategically got Tom Lamb on the straightaway, under braking, and look at the run he's got now. He's moving up there.
Yeah, he's focused on the leader, and ironically enough, doesn't run these style of races. Typically runs enduros with his wife, so showing that he can really get it done out here in a sprint-style race as well, as Andrew Rushing now seems to be gapping both these guys.
Well, I'll tell you, the endurance racing has probably shown him the patience to get to the end. Endurance racing, you have to do that. In these sprint races, some of the guys are really over the top, and they really wing the cars around the track. But he's showing the endurance patience right here, and I'll tell you, he's up front because of it.
Dean Thomas, by the way, with the older style car as well. It's a 93. The 90s to the 93s had the 1.6 liters. So 2 1.6 liter cars out here in front, and there's a whole host of 1.8s back behind them. I don't even see Lamb. Lamb didn't even come through the attitudes here, so Lamb must have had a mechanical. There's Lamb now with a mechanical issue.
He has got a mechanical issue through the bad attitudes, and I guess his attitude's probably not very good right now.
I'm sure he's pretty frustrated, especially coming off of 2 wins. So a struggle there for Lamb. He's not going to make it 3 in a row. As we take a look back there, that's Griswold, who also started way deep inside of this pack and now is working his way up in there. He's going to be a tough competitor. Started off 8th.
We're on board with Dean Thomas, and looks like he's really closing the gap on Andrew Rushing. They're coming into windup. Let's see if he can pull that draft move off again.
And this is important. Rushing got a little loose there in that right-hander. Got to be set up to go through the left-hander because you want to carry as much speed as possible, effectively lengthening out this straightaway. Obviously, a little more mile an hour at the end of the long 3,500-foot section.
He wasn't able to pull off the draft. I don't think he was close enough to pick up the air, but we still have some weaving down the front straightaway to try to break that draft.
I think it's just the driving style of Rushing. He's kind of in that mode as he heads down into turn number 1 again, trying to carry max speed. They'll go way out towards the outside curb and then apex right at the very bottom. These are long, sweeping turns, and it's not uncommon for these guys in this particular class of the Spec Miatas to run through turns 1, 2, and 3 flat out, baby. I mean on the wood. That's what it's all about, to carry that momentum and then get the job done. Exciting stuff, baby. Don't you go anywhere. We'll have plenty more action here with the Spec Miatas from Miller Motorsports Park.
The 2009 National Autosport Association National Championship is brought to you by Mazda, Zoom Zoom, and Toyo tires, driven to perform.
Craig Burnett, lead chemist.
Professionals and car enthusiasts all talk about how well Mother's Clay Bar works. You may think your paint is clean, but a simple touch will tell you otherwise. If the surface is not smooth as glass, you need the Clay Bar. Just spray, clay, and wipe away. Our Clay Bar shears off and removes harmful embedded contaminants, leaving your paint perfectly smooth and clean, paving the way for final waxing. Mother's Clay Bar system. More value, more clay.
Welcome back for the final laps of the 2009 NASA Spec Miata Championship, presented by Toyo Tires and Mother's Polishes, Waxes, and Cleaners. Here we go, baby. A bunch of laps under your belt. Tires are hot, brakes are hot. How do you hang on, Dave?
Well, I'm telling you, you're just going to yourself. Don't make any mistakes at this point. This game is almost over, and we've got 2 more laps to go. What's happening is that Dean Thomas is looking ahead going, give me something. I got to have something. I've been back here for this whole race, and I've not been able to pull it off. What can I do in the last 2 laps to make this happen?
And, of course, maybe his friend will be some lap traffic that these guys have up ahead of them. No doubt will work their way into this race before it's all over with on this 3-mile course. But right now, Andrew Rushing, after he got around Todd Lamb, has been perfect.
He's got a pretty good lead. And what I'm also noticing, these cars are sliding a little bit more, and they're having to manage this really, really well.
Andrew Rushing with a nice gap out front right now out of Austin, Texas. Runs the Texas region with a 91 Mazda Miata, the Applied Racing Technology power plant underneath the hood. And right now, Dean Thomas is there, but the gap stays exactly the same.
It's not closing in, but I'll tell you what's happening now is these cars are so competitive and the drivers are so spot on that the guys that aren't making the mistakes are up front. These guys have not missed. I don't think I've seen any dust from any of these cars. The cars in the back have seen dust.
By the way, Dean Thomas, I love the name of this. Evil Genius Racing is who he's working with, so it's good stuff, man.
What Dean Thomas got here in a certain way, he's running a team event throughout the regions with his wife, who is spotting for him, by the way. He's only run 2 Spec Miatas races this season, but as a team, they can combine their races and get to the championship.
Yeah, and it was his wife that talked him into coming out here and running this particular race. She's spotting for him, as you said, as they come through the final turns here. They just went through Tooele right there. That is turn number 11. They go through the kink into turn number 13. They call it Clubhouse. We go on board right here with Dean Thomas. Again, just look at his hands. The steering input, nice and smooth. Don't oversteer it. Hopefully it sticks. You don't have to counter steer. Actually a beautiful job through there. And as they come through turn number 15 and head down toward the flag stand, It's going to be the last lap, baby. The white flag about to fly.
I'll tell you what's going on in the last lap. What I saw in his in-car, there is cars up front, and lap traffic is going to play a role in the end of this race.
There it is, a white flag waving. Hey, even the guys in the back of the pack are trying to break up a draft, and that's the beauty of Spec Miata, man. You can have a blast. Go out there and buy yourself a car. You're not going to break the bank, and you can come out here and race with these guys, and it doesn't matter if you're racing for last or second to last, man. It's all about the fun, and you will have some fun. All right, going into turn number 1, baby. Last lap, can he hang on?
Well, I tell you, Dean Thomas really closed up the gap. He's 2 car lengths now into turn 1. He closed up 3 car lengths probably in that last lap. He's focusing on that lap traffic, going, how can I use this to get up front? I've got to use that lap traffic to make it work in my advantage and get out of second place into first. By the way, it is the last lap, so it's got to happen now.
All right, coming up on some lap traffic. Will this be an opportunity for Dean Thomas? He closes up on the back of Rushing. You can see the 3 cars up in the front, standing on those hawk brakes, man, and it looks like everything working awesome. He does close the gap. That's how you get it done.
Well, I tell you, he didn't miss a beat. You didn't see any smoke from any of those tires, but I'll bet you're getting every ounce of traction out of those tires and brakes.
Once again, Rushing seems to carry a little more speed through the turn and off the exit. That's where he shines. He gives a little bit up going in, but he has more coming off. Here comes the lap traffic, moving down out of the way. A very gentleman thing to do.
He's also flashing his lights, trying to give the lap traffic a heads up that they're back there. The lap, you don't know if they're running radios, so you don't know if they know they're there or what position they're in.
Well, and keep in mind, those guys are also racing for position. They don't want to finish dead last. I mean, they want to pick up one more spot given the opportunity. Here comes the leader zone, nose to tail. Can Thomas get it done? Rushing, trying to hang on. Goes down to the inside, headed into Tooele.
If Dean Thomas was holding anything back, he's got to make it happen now. We've got 4 turns left, 1 lapped car. Who will bring it out?
And the lap car moves over, out of the way, lets the leaders go by, so it's just going to be a race here to the finish between the 2 top dogs. Will it go to the Northern California region, or will it go back to Texas? Can the 5 car hang on for the Texas region? Oh, and he opens up the door right there. Dean Thomas takes a look on the inside, but it's not going to happen.
He was trying to make that move going into release. He knew it was his last shot, and he has no run on him. He's going to settle in for second place.
The checkered flag waves. Congratulations to the 5 car. Andrew Rushing out of Austin, Texas, and the ART team. Excellent job. Congratulations.
And wrapping up the podium finish is Sammy Valafar in 3rd place.
Crew members down there ecstatic, obviously, coming through release. That is Chris Griswold in the first white Miata, who started off in 8th place. He's followed by Dan McKeever in that black car tucked in right behind. This is exactly what we expected, Dave. An awesome battle out here with these guys. Some 36 Spec Miata cars taking this beautiful track and then going at it.
Let's take a look at our top finishers. In 1st place, we have Andrew Rushing. 2nd place is Dean Thomas. 3rd place, rounding out the podium, is Sammy Valafar. 4th place, Chris Griswold. And our 5th place finisher is Dan McKeever.
We'll round out the top 10 here. That'll be Grant Westmoreland, Tyler Dahl, Dan Mariani, Daniel Geringer, and Tim Weaver. By the way, a quick shout out to Chris Griswold, who also won an American Iron Extreme. It's a lot of fun to watch him there too. From Miller Motorsports Park in Tooele, Utah, for the 2009 National Autosport Association Spec Miata National Championship. Special thanks to Toyo Tires, Mothers, Polishes, Waxes, and Cleaners. And of course, we don't want to forget our great friends at Mazda. We'll see you next year at the races.